Hey, what's up guys? Hope you're all doing well. Master Tartarus is coming out soon in Dragalia, so I know many of you guys are starting to go back into the Tartarus mines, which is now filled with Karinas. For today's video, I'm going to share a couple of my 4 Fafnir standard Tartarus full auto teams. I will not be sharing any expert teams because I haven't found any that uses 3 or 4 Fafnirs, so you're going to be better off doing that in co-op instead. Also, don't think of this video as a guide, it's more me just sharing what I use because chances are most of you guys can't copy my team one-on-one, but hopefully it can still help spark some ideas. This first team that I'm showing you guys has Mordecai, Goof, Peony, and Grace. For this team, Mordecai and Grace are going to be staples. The other 2 are replaceable, but runs will probably end up being a little bit slower if you replace them. Although I have seen some other variations of this team clear in sub 5 minutes, so there's definitely room to play around. You can try using Summer Cleo, Julieta, or maybe even Tiki in those 2 slots. Just try some units out and see how it goes. So for the equipment, obviously 4 Fafnirs, and my team uses all Max Aikidos for the weapon. The skill shares that I'm using are Templar Hopes and Yukata Cassandras. Now Cassandra's share skill is going to play a big part in this fight because the echo damage that it provides contributes a lot of damage for when the team gets enervated. If you aren't able to get that share, then you can try using Padia's share. I have cleared with Padia's share skill, but the thing is the fight dragged on for quite a bit, like around 6 to 7 minutes, but it does work. I'm not really sure how consistent it is though. As for the Worm Prince, everyone is using 100% prep. It's going to be especially important that Mordecai has 100% skill prep so that he can bait Tartarus to the top right in the beginning of the match. This team, I'm not going to say is 100% consistent, but it does clear at a high rate. I would say in 20 runs, maybe 2 will fail, so around a 90% clear rate. It does clear pretty fast when everything goes correctly. It usually clears in about 3.5 minutes. If your team needs a bit more survivability, then I would recommend swapping out Strength Double Buff for Healing Double Buff instead. Initially, I used Healing Double Buff on this team and the clear rates on average were about 5 minutes, but I had no problems surviving. You want to try and find a middle ground between having enough survivability and DPS because the longer the run is, then the more dangerous it's going to be. Now this second team is what I've been using as of recent. This is a 4 DPS standard full auto. I'm using Mordecai, Goof, Tiki, and Peony. This same team also works with Summer Cleo instead of Gali Yuden, but I prefer having Yuden because even if he's enervated, he still contributes with his buffs. Basically, this team relies on Tiki to finish off Tartarus after the first portal. For those that aren't aware, when Tiki is in dragon form, she's immune to enervate, so she can always output decent DPS as long as she's in dragon form. She also helps with breaking people out of prisons, so yeah, she's really good here. The share skills I'm using are the same on Mordecai. He has Templar Hope and Yukata Cassandra. The Worm Prince for the most part are about the same as the previous team except for a few minor changes. On Mordecai, I swapped out Paralyzed Punisher for Force Charge instead. That way he gets to use Yukata Cassandra's share a second time early, and that'll help with defeating the portal clone and also helps with getting Tartarus to break quicker. For Tiki, I basically just threw a bunch of damage prints on her, double Punisher, strength double buff, and then broken Punisher. This team usually clears around the 2-minute mark, but if everything goes perfectly, then it can clear in sub 2 minutes, like around 130 to 140. This is actually surprisingly a very consistent team as well. I would say this is more consistent than the previous team, so at least a 90% clear rate. You just gotta make sure that you clear sometime in between the first portal and around the second portal. Otherwise, characters are gonna start dying off because this team isn't really built for survivability. Now if you don't have Tiki, then you can try slotting in Summer Cleo instead. I managed to get a 130 full auto clear with it, but that team is not consistent whatsoever, but maybe you guys can try and fix it. The Worm Prints are basically the same as the other teams that I just showed you, just a mix of skill prep, skill damage, Punisher, and strength double buff prints. So yeah, those are my full auto teams for Standard Tartarus using 4 Fafnirs. If you guys have any consistent full auto teams of your own, then feel free to share them in the comments down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
みんなで勝ちましょう。これで消えろ。 感者どもに鉄槌を。
シアプレイヤー
消えろイマキュレートウィング。はっこれでイマキュレートウィング。
小賢しい。
勝利への思いはドラゴンも同じ。
正義を尊ぶ世界など狂っている。
世界を超えたケイト。これでライジングクラウン。この力があればライジングクラウン。力を勝機を逃すな。行くぞ。この一撃にかける。終わりだ。ライジングクラウン。この力があればこれで終わりだ。ライジングクラウン。
今の攻撃目が覚めたわ。
この一撃にかける。
君も王を殺めたのだよ。
ライジング
感謝します。
この力がある。これで力を一つに。素晴らしい手加減をなしたイマキュレートウィング。共に進もう。
王を平和の見栄とした傍観者どもに鉄槌を。滅びたまえ。
イマキュレートウィング。
王の魂を踏みにじるのか。食らう。
愛する者を守れてよかった。
ご承覧あれ。我らはアギト。残されし世の撃滅のアギト。
この戦いで決着をつける。
最後まで頑張る。
イマキュレートウィング。はっ消えろ。
王を平和の見栄とした傍観者どもに鉄槌を。偽りの忠義で私を倒すことはできる。
これで消えろイマキュレートウィング。これでまだやれるか。
ありがとう。月元気。
イマキュレートウィング。
今の攻撃目が覚めたわ。
ブレード共に進もう。勝機を逃す。イマキュレートウィング。
我が王の魂返してやろう。王の魂を踏みにじるのか。食らう。
愛する者を守れてよかった。